Welcome in Hawks fans, your boy Rice Lewis back at it again for another Bleav in Hawks episode. It's actually episode 50, so we've hit a milestone for the podcast. And with that, I wanted to bring a guest on to the show to talk about some Hawks. He may be familiar to some of you, former Atlanta Hawks beat reporter for Fan Nation, now sneakers reporter for Fan Nation, Pat Benson, on the show today. Welcome in, my friend. How are you?
Hey, Bryce, man, I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be on the show. Long time listener, first time caller.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely appreciate you, Pat, man. If you guys have followed me through my journey, Pat's been on here a few times, talk about the
Yeah,
Hawks.
I've
Now
seen it.
he's
I take
taking.
that back. You were one of the first people to reach out to me when I covered the Hawks. Like you were one of the
Oh,
first people to
you're
reach out.
starting
You're
to
like,
remember
hey,
that.
I've got this podcast. Come on.
Yeah, I obviously I was the first one to discover him, by the way. So I want to
That's
go ahead and
it. That's it.
take the credit, But yeah, man, glad to have you back on, man. And I guess I know your role's a little different now, but and I know you still are. You've gotten engaged with Hawks Twitter. You never truly get away from it fully, even after you move on. So felt like you were a good person to bring on for a different perspective. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. So the Hawks right now, probably not the season they wanted up to this point. Losing record, probably look like they're going to be 10th seed. Looks like, obviously things can change, but looks like they're play-in bound, which they've been for the last 2 years as well. My first question to you is really about the injuries. Shadiq Bey just ruled out for the season with ACL. Trey's currently out. Kongu's out. Kobe Buffkin is out. Jalen Johnson is day-to-day. It feels like, as some people described it, a season from hell, as some people have described it. What are your thoughts on just this season overall for the Hawks and just why it may be a season of hell, basically how some people feel?
Yeah, it's just a recurring nightmare. One, they're stuck on the treadmill of mediocrity once again. In some ways, not much has changed. This is my first season not covering them in a few years, and in some way, many things haven't changed. They're mediocre. They're stuck in the play-in tournament. However, it's a nightmare in the fact that the injuries have been way worse this year than ever before. Like DeAndre Hunter missed some time earlier this year, and of course, there's always going to be some players who drop in and out of the lineup. It's a long season, but this is the first major injury of Trae Young's career. First time he's missing significant time. So just all around awful season. Who knows? Maybe they can get healthy and be a tough out in the play-in tournament. But right now, the odds are stacked against them.
Yeah, for sure. And right now, the way a lot of the guys' timelines seem to work out, they may be back around play-in time. So that is a possibility that they could be as close to full strength as they could be when that happens. But at the same time, I know a lot of fans don't really want to like a lot of fans feel like they should tank just because of how the season's gone, try to get a pick, try to add to this roster that has holes, has some roster construction issues. So that's kind of the big thing there that is, I think, what Hawks fans are debating a lot nowadays of just what to do with this team, what should be the mode. And the front office hasn't necessarily helped with that as well. Obviously, you've been here covering the team through basically the Slank transfer to Landry Fields and how that's gone, and they traded for DeJounte and things like that. I just want to get your thoughts. What do you think of the job Landry Fields has done so far, I guess? Record-wise, you may not say it's been great, but has there been pluses? Has there been things that we can say, okay, he's done this well, or is it pretty much how some people feel like, man, he's really this team's not where it needs to be, and it really reflects off him?
Well, the front office has done poorly, but I don't think that necessarily reflects off Fields and Korver. I think their hands are tied by the ownership group, and they've made it abundantly clear that they're not going to go into the taxes. They're going to do everything they can to pinch every penny. They're not going to use trade exceptions. They're not going to hit the buyout market. Everything. The only time they spend money is on wasteful moves like paying a coach that they've let go or reassigning Schlenk to within the organization. It's just that's the only time they spend money is to clean up a mistake, which usually ends up being another mistake. So front office has done a poor job. I don't think it's necessarily all of their fault. I think it starts at the top with this team.
Yeah, definitely. I think Tony Ressler says a lot. We all know the rumors about his son being involved in basketball decisions, and people were kind of like, "What?" So,
No, it's not a rumor. He's got a paid position at the near the top of the organization.
yeah, it's one of those things where you just think about, especially with his prior qualifications, it's like, why is he in this spot? But it's like that typical, he's the owner's son, he'll get what he wants, things like that, which has obviously made people not as very trustworthy of, like I said, front office and ownership as well. Wrestler has put a lot into the team, but at the same time, there's been some questionable things that maybe he has held back from Fields and Korver that has not allowed this team to go where they want to go. So one of the main things that could potentially impact is Trae Young. People are wondering about Trae Young's future. Now, Trae Young has came out multiple interviews saying he's in Atlanta. He wants to be in Atlanta. He said after the All-Star game that, he has a couple of years left on his deal, so he's planning on playing him out. Like he's not going to ask for a trade. And honestly, from what I get from him, he doesn't seem like that type of guy to be like, get me out of here. He seems like a guy who's just going to go through the process and then be like, all right, well, now I'll make my decision. It doesn't help that Clutch is his agency, so Clutch always gets rumors out there. But it's interesting for sure. Can you talk about Trae Young? Just maybe first talk about Trae from when you first started cover the team to now, and just how he's been, or what you've observed of Trae since then, and then just hit the outlooks on his future in Atlanta.
Yeah, for sure. So I have the first time I interviewed or talked to even Trae was like during a media day 2018, and then like it progressed to like day-to-day stuff, and then finally like a one-on-one interview about his signature sneaker line. So I've kind of gotten to see him at different points of his career, and he's constantly been just a down-to-earth, nice, humble guy. And additionally, like you said, he's made it so clear that he doesn't have any plans to leave Atlanta. So I think both those things are really good. He seems to be very present and very much has bought into this organization, bought into to the coaching staff and Quinn Snyder and his crew. So I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Obviously, I'd be worried too because the team's been mediocre and clutch, and we know that like the Lakers have been interested, other teams have been interested. So yeah, I'd be nervous, and that's probably a good thing. Maybe that will light a fire under the organization to keep the team competitive. But right now, there's no reason to panic. I don't see a reason to panic with Trae.
Yeah, and I feel like I agree with you there. I feel like Trae, like I said, I one thing I always said is that he wants to win here. He understands what that would mean for a championship for Atlanta, and plus also kind of if you look at the way the city is viewed from a sports landscape perspective and how he is viewed, we feel like a lot of people feel like he gets a lot of negative media, doesn't get the respect. And so it's like Atlanta, the city of sports city, doesn't get the respect. It kind of feels like one of those things where it's like it's almost like the player of the city match perfectly because of that. And I think that's something that is one of the reasons why he wants to be here instead of like just going to LA and, winning with LeBron and AD, because obviously they'll still get the credit and he'll just be a part of one of the guys who helped them get to that point. So I guess my next question then would transfer into DeJounte, because there's been a lot of trade rumors earlier before the trade deadline about what DeJounte's future is. We've seen people have said they've watched games, they see his body language is off sometimes. I've made the case that I just think DeJounte wants to be a point guard again. I said that, changing to a two guard, it's different, and he probably feels like I can't showcase or be the best player I can be because of that. Plus, also, he may be just more of an ISO guy, and with Quinn wanting more ball movement, that also may not work for him, so to say. Like, I think it's fine as a point guard, but like him being a two may not work for him. So can you give me your thoughts on just DeJounte's season so far? I mean, if you look at his numbers, he's having some career highs. Yeah, it's not like his season statistically has been bad. It's just, but you can see maybe the lack of fit. You can see where it's like, all right, I don't know, moving forward.
Well, yeah, like you pointed out, he's producing on the court, but I think this roster structure, his position, it just isn't a natural fit. I think it takes away from both he and Trae. They just don't complement each other like we had hoped. We thought that he would clean up some of Trae's like perimeter defensive problems, and I guess to some degree that might be true, but overall it seems like it hurts both players, and it's not ideal for either one. Trae needs outside shooting and size, and it just doesn't seem like it's going to fit. But again, spending money on mistakes, the Hawks just re-upped on DeJounte last summer. So that's going to make things more difficult. And we saw the trade market. They'd be selling for pennies on a dollar compared to what they traded for him. It wasn't all the draft picks and everything. So just a compounding mistake. And I hate it for DeJounte because it takes away from his career. He had an all-star season in San Antonio right before he came to Atlanta. And he's kind of hasn't just been in the right fit ever since then. So I would say DeJounte would be more likely to leave before Trey.
Yeah, and I think that's something the Hawks may revisit this offseason. I mean, obviously we would hope that there would be moves made this offseason. I know the front office has frustrated some people with the lack of moves that they've made, like we touched on earlier, just lack of wanting to spend money with the injuries we've had, the fact that, they haven't really even called up G League guys when there's been injuries. They've kind of just said, well, this is our roster and we're just going to move forward. So I guess that would lead me into –
Oh, no, I'm sorry. But I just wanted to double check, but I want to make sure I said also DeJounte's a clutch guy. So DeJounte.
They're both clutch. So,
okay. All right. Sorry. Back on track now.
Nah, you're good. You're good. So that brings me into Quinn. Quinn Snyder hired, in the middle or towards the end after the All-Star break of last year. A guy who is respected as a coach in this league. Some people consider him a top 10 coach. He's done basically a year and a quarter now, almost with the team. Can you give me your thoughts on what your impressions of Quinn has been? Do you think that, because I know people have been critical of Quinn, his rotations, things like that. But I think there's also people who are like, no, he's still a really good coach. He still has really good schemes. It's just the talent does not fit what he wants to do. Can you just give me your impression of Quinn Snyder and what he's done with the team that he's been given so far?
Yeah, so as you pointed out, he was hired late last season around the All-Star break. So only was around him closely for like 2 months. And it was funny, in that time, the team went from being defensive focused near the top and defensive to flipping back to their old identity of being, fast paced, shooting lots of threes, all that. So I thought that role reversal, that flip flop was an interesting dynamic. And then this year, it's hard to say just because they've been so injured. He can only do so much. Obviously, you can definitely gripe about rotations, whatever's going on with AJ Griffin. I think that's certainly concerning. So those are fair, legitimate critiques. But overall, this season, I think it's hard to judge him because it's just been so much bad luck with injuries.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's always hard to evaluate a coach when there's been multiple things that have hurt the team. I mean, the team really has not had their top 8 guys healthy a lot this season. I mean, it feels like they're at best 7. And even with that 7, because of the bad roster construction, if it's a wing, they have no wing, especially with them trading John Collins last year. So that's really impacted them. But even in that trade, it has led to the wake of Jalen Johnson. Jalen currently hurt right now. Hopefully he gets back soon from his ankle injury. But, he has emerged this year. And I think some people feel like he should be a most improved player of the year candidacy. Like I said, I know you're not like all locked in, but I'm sure you've seen some of the Jalen Johnson, praise. And I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on him, and just maybe because, you were there covering them when he wasn't really playing a lot. So now he's playing a lot and everything like that. So what are your thoughts on Jalen?
Yeah, I think the praise is well deserved, and he's done a great job this season. He's been one of the few highlights of this year. It's been Johnson rising up and establishing himself as like the heir apparent to John Collins, and he kind of fits that role of springy power forward. So yeah, all of the praise is well deserved for Johnson. He definitely deserves it after a tough, disheartening rookie season where he just didn't get off the bench. So I think Johnson's been one of the few highlights of this year if we're looking for something to salvage this year.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they would obviously expect him to eventually, develop into that guy, one of their top players, if not already one of their top players on the roster, which could also be one of the reasons why they look at a DeJounte trade. And maybe you try to find someone else who fits Trey better because of that. Yeah. Let me bring up Clint Capella real quick, because the center position has been a interesting spot for a few years with Yucca being drafted. And I've always been on the side of, I think that it's time to let Yucca start. I just think you wouldn't invest that type of draft capital into a person to say, we're just going to keep you on the bench And it's not like, I don't even feel like it's him not showing that he can't play. I just think they're just not moving Capella to the bench. So can you talk about Capella? Just because I feel like this year, especially under Quinn, his deficiencies or what he's not great at has stood out more because of what the offense or what the scheme asks of its centers. And you've seen when that short period of time, there was a short period of time where Clint was out and Kongu started and he was averaging like 16, 17 points a game. He was playing well. And everybody was like, why is he not the guy? Right. Can you just talk about Clint? Because I've made an argument that he may be better if you kept him on the team in a bench role, limited bench role, 15, 20 minutes, just defense, just like, the simple whatever. You're not asking him to play 30 minutes. We need you to be the center. Just like, give us this. What are your thoughts on Clint Capella?
Yeah, you may be right. Obviously, Hawks fans, we've been itching for Okongwu to start for a couple years now, really. He had that breakout series against the Milwaukee Bucks in 2021, injured his shoulder, missed time, and basically been Capella's reserve ever since then. And it's hard to get rid of Capella when he's averaging 11 and 10 per game. Again, it's one of those things where it just might not be the right fit. Maybe he should come off the bench. Maybe he should be on the trading block. Who knows? But right now, the Hawks are kind of blessed with an abundance of riches at center to have when he's healthy, Okongwu and Capella.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they want to keep him. That could potentially work. I just think, to me, Quinn gives me the vibes that he wants everybody to be able to shoot, even centers. And so then that just makes everybody a threat. There's so much spacing, those things that just let the offense flow. It may be better for Trey and guys like that. So it just kind of really depends. So depending on how this season plays out, like I said, looks like they'll be playing. We'll see if that means they'll make playoffs. This is kind of like a forward-thinking question. If you were, let's just say you're in the front office. Let's say you're the guy, right? What, with the season ended, what would in your head be the first move you feel like, okay, we have to do this offseason? If there's anything I do.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd necessarily be the first move, but I think one would be probably finding a new if I had to guess, it'd be finding a new team for DeJounte, just because I don't think that's the right fit. I don't think it's fair to him. I think that Trey needs the roster to be built perfectly. If he's going to be the number one option on a contending team, there can't be any redundancies in the starting lineup or anything like that. So although DeJounte is performing and producing well, I think that would probably be my first logical move. But again, right now the market isn't really great for that, so I'd be hesitant. I don't want to outright lose the original trade with San Antonio, but at the same time you don't want to throw good money after bad. So I guess it would start with DeJounte, but either way, they've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, for sure. And
what about you? I want to hear your take on this one.
I mean, okay. So first, I've been on the train. Trade Clint Capella first.
Okay.
let's go ahead and get that split. Let's make that change. They did look into the DeJounte trade. I think that I bleav that they just, like I said, don't work because DeJounte wants to be a point guard again. I know some people have said that they think he wants to be a first option. I said, I don't think it's even that. I just think he wants to play his natural position, and then he'll, whatever team he goes to, he'll figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think you got to find someone who complements Trey better. Mm-hmm. I think you're in an interesting situation because you have Kobe Buffkin, who has played well when he's played. He's probably your best point of attack defender that you have. So, I mean, already. So, if you move off DeJounte, you can now run a more natural 4-guard rotation. Because the thing with DeJounte playing the 2 is he'll be backup point. So, you really sometimes only play 3 guards. And I think that's led to heavy minutes on Trey and Bogey and DeJounte because they're only playing 3 guards.
Yeah.
So, you go back to that natural thing. A big question is just what you do with AJ Griffin. Because, and really, him and Bogey, those are your 2 big questions because you can't go into next season with them 4 as your backcourt because, again, you're still right back where you were. 3 of those guys are not great defenders. Kobe's the only one. I feel like you would want balance. You want at least another 2-way guy out of the 4. So if you go with AJ, then you may have to trade Bogey as well. I know some people have thought about the DeJounte Bogey package to see what that can maybe get you. And then, maybe try to find you a good two-way to go besides Trey. And that way you have a guy either off the bench or starting that can defend. And then you still have your scoring in AJ and Trey. And I know some people think Quinn is sour on AJ. AJ went through some stuff and, and they've used G League effectively. They've used it as like a good confidence boost. You're still doing the same things they're running on the main roster. You're running in G League. And I think it's helped Kobe. I mean, Jalen said it's helped him. I think you got guys like Seth Lundy and them that you want to see. Muhammad Gay is a guy who I think people are excited for whenever he finally gets an opportunity to be up to the main roster. So I think that's the big two things that I would probably do. And I think Trey, I think DeJounte moving is more for his benefit and just trying to get this team right back. Because like I said, roster construction is like really off.
That's it. It's not a natural fit. And do right by the player, and it will also benefit the team.
Exactly. And so that probably be the move that I would probably make. Because and this actually brings up a good question, actually. DeAndre Hunter, he's played really well off the bench after coming back from his injury. And some people are asking the question, if DeJounte's cool with it, do you just kind of leave him there if that's what's best for him and that's what works for him? I know you're paying him a lot, but is that something that if DeAndre Hunter's like, hey, like I'm fine coming off the bench and he's giving you the production he's gave you, you would stick with?
Yeah, for sure. I think there is a certain art to being a sixth man, and we've seen some players really thrive in that role, like Emmanuel Ginobili and our boy Lou Will. Jamal Crawford. There's an art to being a good sixth man. I think it's either Rip Hamilton or Tayshaun Prince was another one. I think there's an art to it, and he's more comfortable in that role. And whatever it takes for DeAndre Hunter to find consistency, I'm for, because he has the breakout games. And if we can just be a little bit more consistent, then I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So, If that happened, I'm like, why not? Why not? I actually have a sneaker question for you.
All right.
I believe Trey just I don't know if he dropped them yet, but I know he just had a new line that people have seen of his latest shoe coming out. Just want to get your thoughts on his latest shoe, and this is his entire shoe line in general. What do you think about the Trey Youngs? Are you think there's quality? Do you think it could be better? Like what is your impression?
Oh no, I think very highly of him. So he's got a signature line, which has 3 installments. The one you see him wear most of the time on the court is the Adidas Trey 3, which I think is a big upgrade over the previous model. And he has said himself that the first is his favorite. And we all can agree, because he wore that one when during the playoff run, he debuted against the Knicks, and then that following season where he did so great. So he's got a signature line. He's got a more affordable line called the Trey Young Unlimited or something. Both of these are with Adidas, and I think it's solid. I think it's both shoes, the signature model and the more affordable model, are really good performers on the court. They're affordably priced, and it helps when you have a star in Trey Young who's super marketable and young kids love him. So, I can't say enough good things about his signature sneaker line.
Yeah, for sure. You got a pair?
I've got some around here. My sneaker wall recently got moved into, like, right now we're in the baby's room. So
gotcha.
It's in a different room.
That's funny. Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
I had to sneak that in there. I know you're a man who knows shoes, the shoe game going crazy. If y'all know about Pat Benson's shoe game. So yeah. But I think that will pretty much wrap this up, Pat. I appreciate you coming on to Bleav in Hawks and talking some Hawks with me. I know they play Portland by the time this is recording tonight, so hopefully they get a win, even though they're depleted and injured. The Hawks are, and Portland's not that good, so we'll see what happens. Before I let you go, though, let people know where they can find you.
For sure. So you can follow me on social media at Pat_Benson_Jr. And really, other than that, Bryce, I had fun, man. I appreciate you discovering me and putting me on back when I first started covering the Hawks. I even liked it when you wrote you contributed to the website even. You did some writing, which I really like. So, man, I'm a huge fan of your work. I really appreciate you having me on. And let's save the season, man. Let's make some noise this spring, Hawks.
Yeah, that's the hope. That is the prayers that people are making in the city of Atlanta for Hawks fans, man. But like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on. And obviously, guys, you know about the Bleav in Hawks podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Bryce_2K. Or if you're listening to this through any audio podcast, available on all podcast networks, you can leave a review, leave a rating. Appreciate that. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, hi, subscribe, like the video, and I'll continue to push out Hawks content. But like I said, Pat, appreciate you coming on. And this was your Bleav in Hawks podcast. Your boy Bryce Lewis saying, see you next time.